Hours throughout today with a high near 76. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 57. And Thursday, rain with a high near 72. Discover Market Fresh, your local Asian food store located just south of Rosedale on County Road 36, and Shanghai Wholesale Market, your international food warehouse in St. Paul's Midway at 640 Pryor Avenue North. This Father's Day weekend only, get 10% off meats and seafood at Market Fresh and Shanghai Wholesale Market.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to The Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ progressive radio news and talk show in the country. I am your host, John Parker, a professional queer since 2014. I'm going to put that on my business cards. Jim Pounds, my executive producer, in studio with me.
Hey, all.
And okay, with a lot to get to today. First, I want to say Queer Gaze presents Pride at Imagine Willow Creek. Queer Gaze is excited to once again partner with Imagine Willow Creek Theater to showcase a series of queer films this June. Get ready to laugh, cheer, and shed a joyful tear every Sunday in June at 2 p.m. Tickets are on sale at imagine-entertainment.com/queer-gaze. That's a huge hyperlink. We're going to include it in the show notes and on our website, as well as on our Blue Sky. If you go to @thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky. This Sunday, June 15th, Queer Gaze will screen Appropriate Behavior. A secretly bisexual Persian-American Brooklynite is struggling to navigate her recent breakup in this romantic dramedy. We follow Shireen as she struggles to rebuild her life while reminiscing about her relationship with her ex, Maxine. So definitely check that out. There are a couple more films. How many more Sundays are there? Yeah, there'll be 2 more films coming up here in this series. So we are thrilled that we have this organization doing this work, promoting queer films here in the Twin Cities. What is on the show today? Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, is back with us in the second half of the hour. He has new reporting on DC World Pride, Senator Schiff's actions to preserve Harvey Milk's Navy ship, updates in the Andry Hernandez Romero case. If you recall, Romero was kidnapped by the United States government and sent to a concentration camp in El Salvador. And also a story about Eugene Levy. Yes, please. Recent MSNBC ratings are in, and oof, they are not great. I don't necessarily want to rag on MSNBC, but rather ask the question, what exactly do we need from a cable news network right now? And clearly people don't think MSNBC is giving it. Up first, Oregon just passed a new law that supposedly will stop people from banning LGBTQ books. Now, I say supposedly, I'm putting in the editorial there before the facts. So let's start with the facts. Under the new law, schools cannot ban books because those books, and I'm quoting here from the law, include a perspective, study, or story of, or are created by any individual or group against whom discrimination is prohibited under anti-discrimination law in Oregon. So you can't ban a book because it's written by a queer person or based on LGBTQ content. According to the law, the Department of Education will provide technical assistance and guidance to assist in strengthening school library programs in the state, in Oregon, and to assist in compliance with the requirements, directly quoting there from the new law. There is still a process to challenge books, and it is a 2-step process, essentially, where parents have to submit a written request to the school to challenge the book, and then a committee will review that challenge to make sure that it is not falling on the wrong side of this law, that they're not saying, hey, this book is written by a gay, therefore it has to automatically be banned, or it's just gay material, so please, remove it. The committee will review that and say, no. If they do go forward with the ban, then the committee must provide a written report that is then publicly available to folks to explain why that book was removed. Here's my analysis of the situation based off of my experience with these types of laws and watching it play out here in Minnesota. And I believe it is exemplified in this quote from Oregon State Representative Cyrus Javadi. Representative Javadi was the sole Republican voting for the law, but this is what they said on the floor in support of it. You can remove a book if the content is too graphic. You can remove it if it's not age appropriate, but you can't remove it just because the author is gay or Muslim or black, or because the story centers someone that makes you uncomfortable. And that is the problem right there. That is the Achilles heel of these laws.
These people's comfort
Well,
makes
no,
me uncomfortable.
it's the arguments that MAGA makes that LGBTQ books are graphic and that any LGBTQ content is not age appropriate. And here's Oregon Republican Representative Boomer Wright speaking against the bill, also on the floor. Quote, the entire bill is redundant, unnecessary, inflammatory, politically, sexually motivated, and a threat to family values. Preventing books that promote radical ideologies with regard to gender and sexuality from getting into the hands of minor children is an obligation, not an option. This bill is not in the best interest of children and families. So the problem that the Democrats are facing here is that they're saying that the book can't be banned because the author is gay, but MAGA doesn't care about that. And they keep saying they don't care about that. They argue that anything LGBTQ related is sexualized and therefore not age appropriate. And the law does not provide, I've reviewed the law, does not provide guidance on what is or isn't age appropriate. It doesn't provide guidance on what is or isn't sexual.
So they win the battle about preventing people under the age of 18 from finding out who they are and understanding who they are and being healthy and happy and not committing suicide. They win that battle. But they'll lose the battle at the age of 18 when 40% of kids turn against them, just like Musk's kid has turned against him, where they say, I am gay after all, I am trans after all.
I wasn't following your train of thought.
Do you know what I'm saying? They think they're going to stop this by preventing something in schools, by delaying the recognition of what somebody is, because it's an innate, natural thing, not an artificial thing, which they're scared to admit. And they'll just end up losing the kids after they're 18 then, I guess, is what we'll say. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they'll be like,
we're talking about
the
limitations of, I see what your argument is. I want to talk about the law, though, and the limitations and how the laws aren't actually going to do what people think that they're going to do. For instance, it does not provide an appeals process to get around a biased school district. So you could have a parent come in who says that an LGBTQ book is sexualized and not age appropriate. You could have a committee that is made up majority of people who agree with that, and they sign off, and there is no appeals process to overturn an erroneous decision.
Well, and we've learned there can be an irrational school superintendent who comes in and overturns the committee anyway.
Correct.
Because they're not sincere about this. They want to say homosexuality isn't right and doesn't exist, both of which are untrue. So they're trying to find a way to justify it. Mm-hmm. And eventually, at the age of 18, none of their stupid bigotry is going to matter, because a person is going to be who they are innately. And that's just the ones that don't commit suicide will hopefully join the LGBT
really
community.
In a direction
and won't that be great? I mean, I feel bad for the people that we lose, but I feel glad for the ones that will eventually say, shut up, mom and dad and superintendent. I'm what I am. And we will welcome you into the community, of course.
Yes. Okay. I get what you're saying there. I'm trying to point out that the laws that Democrats are passing are not going to be as effective as they think they're going to be. And they don't allow for an appeals process. They say that they keep saying that there are these processes being put in place, but you're not allowing for an appeals process to get around biased people. And when the argument is not that we want to ban this book because the author is LGBTQ, but because the content is too sexualized. Right. And when the law does not provide what is sexualized and not sexualized, I mean, you're talking about the case from Rochester Public Schools, where there's a children's book put out by a major publisher, received star reviews from every major organization that does reviews for children's books. The committee voted 9-1 to keep the book on the shelf, but the superintendent said this one image here and this other image is nudity, therefore it's sexualized, therefore it's not age appropriate, completely overriding the publishing industry, the review industry, the experts, everybody.
And it was a cartoon butt. That's what this guy, this college-educated guy, thought was nudity. I mean, he needs
based off of one
to go
parent,
back to school.
based off of one parent, and also the superintendent in that instance did not provide guidance to the libraries about what is and isn't sexualized content, what is and isn't age appropriate. So just took out this one book and didn't provide any further guidance. And Minnesota's law doesn't provide any guidance about it either. When I talked to Senator Swadziecki about this, the senator said that first thing was about how, we're not wanting nudity in books. And we all agree that there should not be pornography in school libraries. But the problem is that they make the argument that any content is too sexual, too pornographic, because it's not age appropriate. Right. And that's where, for me, the analysis and my viewpoint of this bill is that it fails. And I don't believe that people should be trumpeting it as a success, because these bills are not getting to the issue of what the actual protection that needs to be happening here. And I believe that credentialed experts should be determining what is on the library shelves. I do not believe that the public or parents should be able to submit a form saying that a book should or shouldn't be in the library.
It should be, thank you for your input. Because go sit down.
What's happening, unfortunately, is we have a small group of people who hate people, marginalized people, and want to get those books out of the libraries. Yeah. And we don't have enough people going to these stupid library board meetings or filling out these stupid forms saying, I want this book in there. I want this book in here. I want this book in here. Right. So what ends up happening, these challenges, is that the far right uses them to get rid of books that should be on those shelves anyway. Right. Students have free speech. They have free speech rights. They should have the ability to look up if a book is published by a publisher for elementary school students and it receives star reviews, then the students have a right to read that book.
Of course. It's not even, we're giving them all this legitimacy, like talking about it like it's an intelligent discussion, and it's not.
Because we're trying to have an argument with the Democratic Party, who is trying to have a rational argument, but they're missing the point of it, and they're not really addressing how MAGA is going to undercut their law. So they're passing a law that they think is going to be effective, but when we actually watch it play out in real time, there is no appeals process. They're not addressing the fact in the law of what does and doesn't constitute sexualized, nudity, appropriate. And so that allows MAGA to get around this, which is very problematic. And so then you can sit there and go, yay, we passed a bill. But in reality, did you pass a bill that is actually going to keep books by authors of color, by queer people that deal with these issues on the shelves for kids to read them? I've got to take a break here. We check out more progressive news and talk at am950radio.com and heartlandsignal.com. Continue the conversation on Blue Sky. We're at thegaleyshow.org on Blue Sky. You're listening to The Gailey Show right here on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Are you remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Hi, it's Mitch, owner of Junk Masters. Spring's the perfect time to get your space back and clear out those unwanted items. The best part? Just show us what goes. We are local and independent, just like AM 950. We provide residential and commercial services. Our landfill diversion program includes donating, recycling, and leveraging waste to energy whenever possible. You don't have to worry about a thing. We do all the work for you. Contact us for a free quote. There's no obligation. Visit junkmastersmn.com to get started today.
It's finally summer and pride season. To kick it off, Rainbow Road in Minneapolis has lots of new lines of fresh, fun, and memorable clothes and swimwear. If you want to be lit, you've got to come and see this great new merchandise. Show off some skin at Pride this year. And don't forget to get your rainbow gear before you go out to the 39 Pride festivals all across Minnesota. You'll need 39 new outfits.
Get it at the road, 109 West Grand Street in Minneapolis near Loring Park.
Boldly Challenging Ableism is here to go where some people won't. I'm Katrina Simons, and every week I'm digging into the real impact of ableism, breaking down myths, calling out barriers, and pushing for a world where disabled people belong in every space. With my work at the University of Minnesota's Institute on Community Integration and a lifetime of lived experience, I'm diving into everything from employment and housing to justice and culture. And yeah, I bring some humor and heart along the way. Catch us Sundays at 2 p.m. right here on AM 950, or listen anytime by finding Boldly Challenging Ableism on YouTube or your favorite podcast app.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. June is here, which means you might be having a graduation party at your house soon. Summer also means sleepovers. Your kids are going to be at the playground, at the water park, at the beach. There's going to be a lot of mess coming into the house over the summer, and you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to make sure your home is in order for the summer. And since June is here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the summer. Zero Res can take care of any surface in your home or business, including carpet, tile, hardwood, rugs, upholstery, and air ducts. This month, take 20% off all services when you call my friends at Zero Res 9520-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com. Just tell them you want the AM 950 special. Their prompt, courteous team will come out and take care of you. Again, that's 20% off all services this month. Go to ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520-RES and ask for the AM 950 special. Zero Res, backward or forward, spells the same.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm your host, John Parker. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. If you're listening in the 2 p.m. Central Hour, we can take your calls, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205, because I know this is a shorter segment and a bigger story, but I want to talk about MSNBC. Ratings came in and they were not great. And this was Nielsen ratings in May. MSNBC was down a dismal 29%, according to Adweek, 40% in the demo in prime time. Total network dropped 36%, total viewers 44% in the key demo. MSNBC's primetime lineup, which includes The Briefing with Jen Psaki, only averaged 811,000 total viewers. This was down as well. CNN also not doing great. It's a problem here, and they bumped up after they had huge losses after the election in terms of ratings, and it kind of went up again when the new administration took over, and then it's been bad. It's been bad. And I think the question I would love to hear from some viewers on this is, and because I have some thoughts too, what do we need from a cable news network right now? Ideally, it wouldn't be corporate. It would be completely, independent. And I know that Comcast is spinning off MSNBC from completely, and they're trying to sell it off into its own network, which would mean, I don't know what that means for the branding, because it wouldn't be attached to NBC News anymore. It would just be, I don't know. It won't have that news gathering service. They have to create their own. But I couldn't tune in anymore after the election because I felt like their analysis was ultimately wrong and unconvincing. And I felt like they spent too much time. I feel like their business model was, here's the stupid thing that Trump said today, or here's the horrible thing that MAGA did today. Tune in, da, 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 da. And as opposed to, here are the solutions and proposals that are on the table that normal people can be dealing with here. They would sit there and talk about how, Trump's such an idiot about immigration and doesn't understand anything, but didn't talk about, okay, but what are the real proposals that are on the table that we can do to solve immigration? They would sit there and talk about, how stupid tariffs are. Okay, but do people actually understand what tariffs are going to do? It's one thing to just say, oh, well, yeah, tariffs are bad. But if people don't understand how the tariffs are going to impact folks, did the commentators and analysis at, the anchors at MSNBC do enough of that? And I know that they're not supposed to be there for the Democratic Party, and they're not supposed to be left or right, even though they are a left wing or left leaning anyway, left sympathizing news network. But here we are clearly, at the Gailey Show, we are a progressive news show. We don't shy away from that. Like I did in the last segment, I want to give the journalistic facts. I want to have journalists on this show. But at the end of the day, I believe that progressive analysis is going to be better for the queer community. It's going to be better overall for the country. And that's why I apply it to issues, and I want to bring things forward. That's why I critique that book ban law, the one that was passed in Minnesota, the one that was just passed in Oregon, as not being effective. But what do we want from a corporate cable network right now? What is going to be effective?
Well, there's no view from any distance. They're like you say, what happened today? What did he say at his news conference? What did somebody shout from their car in the neighborhood the other day? It's a very small perspective, and what we need is a medium perspective. One issue is the immigration detentions, or illegal arrests, I would call them, are happening at much larger numbers than we have ever been told. And we get empirical information about that, but nobody's reporting on it collectively.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're afraid to. But in Los Angeles, it was just reported they've arrested 350 people, but only a third of them, less than a third, 32%, had committed any sort of crime. So that perspective is important. We're arresting 350 people who are people of color, and they're undocumented workers, I admit, but they have no criminal record. So again, in flying in the face of a lie that was told and repeated many times, that's not what they're doing. What they say they're doing is not what they're doing. So what we need is somebody that says what they're actually doing in order to bring up the bile in independent people's stomachs so that they're throwing up at the thought of what they've enabled by voting for this monster. I guess that I feel like we need perspective, not today's latest yell across the bow.
Yeah, I understand also that for a lot of those folks, their business model is built around headlines. What are today's headlines? What is the breaking news? Which is why everything is breaking news. I remember I remember when that craze took over when I was working in broadcast journalism, and I'm like, why does this is not breaking news? But all the advisors and the consultants were like, you have to make things breaking news because that gets eyeballs. Right. And so that's where we sort of started leading to this titillating version of journalism, which is sort of getting back towards yellow journalism, if you want to get into the history of all of it. But I can understand on a business argument level why they're going for headlines, but I don't feel like any corporate news outlet, and we probably shouldn't expect that from them, is providing. If we're talking about the fourth estate and democracy, which is what MSNBC is constantly doing, democracy, we have to fight and save our democracy. Are they putting the variety of solutions on the table to advance and keep democracy? Do their viewers know what is on the table? Or do we have a lot of folks like Senator McCaskill, who lost her race to a MAGA person, but somehow is asked to talk about how to win elections, giving us the corporate centrist line of, well, this is impossible and this isn't possible. We're a progressive radio station. If you're a progressive, then you should believe in what we did as progressives in the early 20th century, which was we amended the Constitution. Why do we have direct election of senators right now? Because we amended the Constitution, because progressives said we can amend the Constitution. Before, it was legislatures that elected their senators. Why do we have a professional federal service right now? Everyone's all up in arms about it. They're firing all the federal employees. Do you know why those are there? Because of the progressives. The progressives said, hey, we have actually smart people who study this thing for a living. We should get experts in here to look at waste disposal. We should get experts in here looking at fluoride in the water.
I don't think the Republicans believe in experts. They're too They're too hard to have. They don't want to have a discussion.
This was such a big story in a small segment. Anyway, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, will be here to help us make sense of so many different things. Stay tuned. You are listening to The Gaily Show.
Hello, Minnesota.
Christopher is here.
Do you need to hear his microphone?
I just thought maybe you did. I don't.
Oh, well, I'm happy to talk. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah. Can you turn it?
You're on a hot mic right now, so everything we talk about is hi, YouTube folks.
Right.
Just so we know.
John, can you turn his microphone up for me?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to start with Senator Schiff?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And then maybe we can do Andry Romero and then go into DC World Pride and Eugene Levy.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Cool. I'll put time cues in the chat, and I think we're 2 minutes out. Cool. If you're good to go, then we'll switch back to the feed.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Invited. Enjoy live music, drag performances, food trucks, local vendors, and family activities, all by the river in beautiful downtown Hastings. Let's come together to uplift every color of the rainbow. Hastings Pride on June 14th at Levy Park. All are welcome, all belong. Details at ideaorganization.org or on Facebook and Instagram.
As a teacher, having a foster grandparent in my room, it enables me to have an extra set of hands.
Foster grandparents are role models, tutors, and friends to children with exceptional needs.
It's been fantastic having Grandma Freddie in our room.
It is the best feeling in the world. I'm a best student because of her.
To learn more about how to become a foster grandparent and help children in need, call 1-800-942-2677 or visit Senior Corps at nationalservice.gov.
The place for live music is the Park Tavern. Park Tavern has delicious food and great bowling, and now the Park Tavern's dog-friendly patio is open and waiting for you. And make sure you catch the live music on the patio. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 5:30 to 8 p.m., live music awaits you with the Park Tavern's full menu available. Reservations for groups of 8 or more are recommended. And the Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces for small and large groups with no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, live music and outdoor fun are back at the Park Tavern.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies and scattered rain showers throughout today with a high near 76. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 57. And Thursday, rain with a high near 72. The Great Wall Restaurant serves up bold, authentic Chinese flavors. From hot and sour soup to Peking duck, their Szechuan and Mandarin menu is packed with favorites. Visit them at 4515 France Avenue South or at greatwallrestaurant.us. That's greatwallrestaurant.us.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. Welcome back to The Gaily Show, the only daily LGBTQ progressive news and talk show in the country. I'm your host, John Parker. In studio with me is my executive producer, Jim Pounds. We are just past 33 minutes after the hour. Since 1969, the Washington Blade has been the nation's independent source for fearless reporting and incisive cultural commentary covering the LGBTQ+ community. Readers around the world rely on the Blade, earning the paper the moniker the newspaper of record for the LGBTQ+ community. You can find their award-winning journalism and their weekly newspaper distributed at more than 100 locations throughout the DC region and online at washingtonblade.com. While you're there, subscribe to their weekly e-newsletter and check out their membership opportunities that make vital LGBTQ journalism possible at a time when clear, concise news is needed now more than ever. Christopher Kane is the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. He returns to the show. Hey, Christopher, how are you?
Hello, good afternoon.
So we were talking earlier this week about Harvey Milk's naval ship that is being renamed by Pete Hegseth, U.S. Secretary of Defense, saying, hey, we're going to rename this ship, which is very much against Navy protocol here and kind of a redo of history since, Harvey Milk was kicked out of the Navy under an executive order for being gay. And now here again, we have an executive order kicking him off a Navy ship because, anti-gay hatred. But Senator Schiff is getting involved now, and you're reporting on this. So what is the senator from California doing on this issue?
So this takes us back actually to last week when Senator Schiff introduced a resolution urging the Defense Department not to rename the USNS Harvey Milk. And it was actually not just that ship, but it was a collection of ships in the so-named John Lewis class of oil replenishers. Which are named after civil rights leaders, including John Lewis, Harriet Tubman. There were others. And these ships were also reportedly going to be renamed along with the USNS Harvey Milk. And Senator Schiff proposed a resolution for the Defense Department not to do this, and did not pass by the Republican-controlled Senate, which is, I suppose, not too much of a surprise. However, he's not alone. A couple of hours ago today, during a Senate hearing, Senator Tammy Baldwin, who's I believe right now is the lone LGBTQ member of the Senate, called Hegseth out, the defense secretary, for focusing on this instead of, for example, I don't know, Iran or China or any of the other things that perhaps, leader of the Pentagon should be interested in, focused on. So it remains to be seen, I suppose. I think we're looking at the original reporting was that on Saturday was going to be the announcement of the renaming officially. So we'll be looking for that and seeing if anything is going to happen on Saturday.
What does he want to rename it? Jack Daniels or something?
No comment there.
Okay.
The Andrew Tate ship. So wait. So we know from reporting that he deliberately waited till June.
That's right.
To strip the name off of the ship, and now they're going to announce the new one on the military parade day.
That was the original reporting. Was the 14th, which is also, as you pointed out, the military parade that we have planned in DC. So I don't know if that's still going to happen, and I also don't know if the plans to make the official announcement were kind of obviated by the reporting about these plans, which came out I think last week or the week before by military.com, which got its hands on a memo.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to stay tuned. I imagine you're covering this Saturday. Are you?
No, not in terms of anything like that I need to be on site, like covering it live. So I'm going to be watching it like everybody else, and if there's anything to report, then I'll be certainly doing that. But
no, I'm not watching that. That's bonkers. No. If I had to recover it, I guess I would, but I don't have to, so I'm not watching that. Right. Turning to some. All right, so we have one wrongly deported, kidnapped by the United States government and sent to a concentration camp individual, Kilmar Abrego, who was brought back from El Salvador to the United States last week. Yeah. We are still, folks don't even know if Andry Hernandez Romero is even still alive. He was kidnapped by the U.S. government in March while trying to claim asylum because he had, crown tattoos on his arms. And one lone individual who is a former Wisconsin police officer who isn't even allowed to testify in court cases anymore because he was so bad at his job, determined that this guy is that Romero was what was the
Trento Agua.
Yeah, Trento Agua. So where are we at with this particular case? Because he was denied. There was one court that said he can't move forward with his asylum claim, but then there's another case with the ACLU where he is a primary plaintiff in that. And I know now members of Congress continue to work on this. What can you tell us from your reporting?
So a lot, actually. So there are a lot of differences between this case and Kilmar's case. Principally the fact that Mr. Romero, Andry as he's known, has not been found guilty of any crime. So that's the difference. And additionally, his request for asylum, the initial request, which you have to pass what's called a credible fear interview, which kickstarts the process. He passed a preliminary screening. So the United States made a court date for him. It was in mid-March, and he missed the court date because ICE agents took him from the detention facility in around San Ysidro port of entry to El Salvador, where he was imprisoned at CSOT, according to at least reports and photographs of him that were taken there at the prison. So he was the court that you were referencing, the decision on his asylum case actually was because he was not present for that court date because he was in El Salvador.
Oh, what?
There was kind of a default judgment that was against him in the asylum case. But of course, his attorneys, and now they're working with the ACLU, the Immigrant Law Defenders Center, or Immigrant Defenders Law Center, I think is what it is, are working with the ACLU, and members of Congress are also drawing attention to this. I spoke with Congressman Robert Garcia about it on Friday, and I'm speaking with Congressman Richie Torres about this tomorrow. So there's been a real groundswell of support for Andry. There was a fundraiser for him on Friday that kind of kicked off the Capitol or the World Pride festivities in Washington here. So there's been a lot of attention on his case. And as a matter of fact, on Monday, Robert Garcia and Richie Torres were among the 52, I believe, 51 members of Congress and 2 U.S. senators who sent a letter to Secretary Rubio demanding answers, proof of life for Andry, and also requesting that he be brought home. That is up from 4 members of Congress that did the same a few months ago in April. So it just goes to show you the extent to which there's been a groundswell of support and interest in his case.
So the calls are working to the Congress people to get folks to be aware of his case, because it is all of the cases, from when you begin to learn about them individually, of these Venezuelans who were essentially kidnapped by the U.S. government and disappeared to El Salvador. It's frightening.
And aren't there more than just these 2? I was up to the number 4 or 5, I can't remember. And
there were over 200 that were taken. Am I correct in that, in March?
But I mean, that were improperly sent. Like, they've admitted that there was a mistake, that it wasn't done properly or something. I think it's more than 2. There's 2 that have gotten a lot of publicity, but there's at least 2 more that I don't know much about that haven't gotten as much publicity.
Jim, I believe that's right, and I believe the other 2 cases were minors that were born in the United States that were sent back to, I think, Brazil and with their parents or with a parent. I don't remember details, but another important element of this case, which I don't think I mentioned, is that Andry is gay, and he fled Venezuela in large part because he was gay, because he was facing persecution, and the determination that he's in Tren de Aragua really is incompatible with the fact that he could not live in Venezuela because he was being persecuted over his sexual orientation. So it really just doesn't add up, and it makes it all the more concerning. I think, you have to think about somebody who is a makeup artist, a cosmetologist, and the way that he might be treated in a place like CSOT. It's really alarming.
Yeah, it's inhuman.
Really. My understanding being that he was also being told to do things by the dictatorship in Venezuela, actions that he was refusing to do, which is part of the reason why he was claiming asylum here in the United States, is that there was this whole confluence of things that had him be able to pass that first asylum step, which is ridiculously hard to claim here in the United States. So the fact that he even got past that first one was such a big deal. This is something I haven't been able to figure out, Christopher. I don't know if you have any insight into this. Why are they sending them to this concentration camp in El Salvador? Has anyone figured that out? Like, is there any, why El Salvador? Like, why not send them back to their original countries if they're so concerned about that? Like, does anybody know why they picked this concentration camp and this dictatorship?
I think because they're never going to be heard from again. I think that's the idea, right? The people that run the place have said people don't leave here. They don't come back from here. They die here. So it was to sort of ice them, and to use the president's mafioso lingo, it was to ice them, I think. I'm sorry, you should answer that, Christopher, not me.
I think I would agree with you, Jim. I mean, I think we have to look at what the pretextual reason is that the administration is giving, and I'm not even really sure that I'm clear on what that is. What the pretext they're offering is But certainly in terms of if you can kind of take a step back and look at this from trying to imagine what the rationale is, right? So, this is a prison that's operating outside the purview of U.S. law. It's also an institution where the inmates, the incarcerated people, have no access to their families or attorneys or legal counsel.
Right.
So their fate really is up to the people running the prison, and President Bukele and President Trump and American officials that do have leverage over what happens in this prison. And the one thing that I will add is the fact that we have now Kilmar Abrego Garcia being brought back to the United States. It really disproves the administration's contention that they are powerless to bring these people home once they've sent them there. So.
We are talking with White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, Christopher Kane. I will look forward to the books that come out of when did the conversations happen between Trump and his team and this dictator in El Salvador where they created this agreement? Because it seemed like it was all there ready to go, like boom, boom, boom. He got there and suddenly hundreds of people are being disappeared to this concentration camp where how did they even get on each other's radars? Who set up this agreement? Like, it's just.
I think if you get the Putin newsletter, you're all kind of
maybe,
in on the same
back
thing.
channels. Back
So
there.
I do think you're right to ask the question. I was listening to something earlier. Evidently, there were high-ranking members of MS-13 that were standing trial in the state of New York that were about to testify about Bukele's connections actually to the gang. And some of them were returned home shortly before they testified, which would indicate perhaps there's a certain amount of, I don't want to speak out of turn here or make any allegations that I can't back up, but the insinuation is that perhaps, allegedly, there might be some kind of relationship between the United States government and Bukele, who might be trying to evade responsibility for his part in the development and perpetuation of crimes committed by the gang. So.
That sure makes a lot of sense.
We can use Andry's fundraiser, which happened last Friday. I should note we have calls into the Immigration Defenders Law Center. Haven't responded yet. Questions that we have for him in the defense of his case. But the fundraiser was on Friday, which kicked off World Pride. We have got a minute before I got to hit a break here. But what can you tell us about DC World Pride and how that turned out?
So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the fundraiser. We had a Washington Blade event that same evening, but it was a great experience. It was people were highly engaged. It was a great crowd, and the vendors, especially that came to Washington for World Pride, it was very cool. It was kind of a different experience than I'm used to seeing in DC. So.
Well, I have to fit in a break here. We're going to have more with Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, when we come back. Keep the conversation going. You can follow us on Blue Sky. We're at thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky. You are listening to The Gailey Show on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries are committed to providing quality services, resources, and programs to the LGBTQ+ community. Check out the Metro Pride book list, including ebooks and e-audio for kids, teens, and adults at melsa.org/pride-booklist. That's melsa.org/pride-booklist. You'll find titles specific to different identities, including aromantic, asexual, bi+, gay, genderqueer, intersex, lesbian, queer families, transgender, and two-spirit. Stop by Melsa's tent at Twin Cities Pride to share your own reading recommendations. Check out those contributed by other festival attendees. Pick up buttons and bookmarks and find out more about your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries. Don't have a library card? Staff at the tent can help you with that. There will be librarians from the Metro Public Library systems who are happy to provide book recommendations and other info on how to get the most from your library card.
Four Sisters Farmers Market is more than a place to shop for delicious organic food. It's a celebration of Indigenous culture, food sovereignty, and community. Now in its 11th season, the market offers healthy, affordable, culturally appropriate local foods every Thursday from 11 to 3. Located on the American Indian Cultural Corridor off Franklin Avenue, Four Sisters Farmers Market is a project of NAGD. Every Thursday now through October, discover more about Four Sisters Farmers Market by visiting nagd.org.
The Council on LGBTQIA2S+ Minnesotans is conducting a community needs survey. Data from the survey will be used to make recommendations to improve LGBTQ people's health and well-being in Minnesota. The May 31st deadline has been extended through June. So as we celebrate Pride Month, make sure you take advantage of this extraordinary opportunity to tell our stories. The survey is confidential, and you can fill it out online at mnqt.info/survey.
Hey, listeners, there's an exciting invitation for you. This Juneteenth, come celebrate with Minuteman Press Uptown, the largest Black-owned print shop in Minnesota. On June 19th, you're invited to tour your favorite local union print shop. It will be a fun experience where you can see creativity in action, enjoy refreshments, win prizes, and learn about their important role as the only BIPOC union printer in the Midwest. Mark your calendars for June 19th at 4024 Washington Avenue North in Minneapolis. That's 4024 Washington Avenue North. See you there.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease, it'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour. We're here with White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, Christopher Kane, who joins us here bi-weekly on Wednesdays to share his award-winning reporting from D.C., covering the White House and all things D.C. and the legislature. Speaking of D.C., we were talking just before the break got started on D.C. World Pride was this past weekend. Any events? So there was the fundraiser for Andry Romero that was on Friday night. The Blade had an event on Friday night. How'd that go? I hope it was fantastic.
It was great. Yeah, thanks for asking. It was a lot of fun.
Good. Any events that stood out for you most during Pride? I mean, it's got to be a different type of Pride. I mean, how is this World Pride different than maybe a regular DC Pride?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, every Pride kind of feels a little bit different, but including this one, I mean, this year it was really kind of just great to be in a moment of like with community and where we're all kind of having fun with each other. Especially at such a dark time, that a lot of people were commenting on kind of the dichotomy there. But it kicked off last week with at least for me with an event that was hosted by the Equality PAC, which is the Congressional Equality Caucus's Political Action Committee. And Eugene Levy was receiving an award there, the actor from, of course, Schitt's Creek and American Pie and a bunch of other classics. And so I got the chance to interview him, and it was kind of, every time we have celebrities in Washington, it's kind of interesting because the crossover between entertainment and politics. And I came prepared with a bunch of questions about politics, and of course he's an actor. He wanted to talk about film and entertainment, and he kind of, after a little while of chatting with him, he's like, look, I think Will and Grace did more to advance equality and rights for queer people than a lot of things happening in Washington. And it's like, you're absolutely right. Like, there's no arguing with that. Yeah. So it's just kind of funny how everybody kind of has a role to play.
Well, when you say that, it reminds me of when Dan Levy told folks that he deliberately did not have any anti-LGBTQ homophobia in Schitt's Creek. He's like, this is not a show that's going to depict that, and the whole tenor of it changes things, and I think it normalizes just like, hey, queer people are here. You can have relationships with them, right, as your colleagues and neighbors and all of that. And I think that show also did a lot. Not just winning a bunch of Emmys historically, but did a lot, I think, for the community.
I want you to know how sophisticated John is. You had World Pride Day this next weekend. He's going to Marquette Pride in Michigan. So
is that right?
Do not diss on my Pride Fest.
I'm just saying it's a different scale of an event, but Good for you.
Different scale,
In a
but
lot of ways,
no less
that's
prideful.
and more interesting and more special than it happening in Washington. You know,
I'll get a report on Monday.
It's the pride for all of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There you go.
Hell yeah, that's great.
Are there? So wait. When is So is DC going to have its quote unquote? I mean, regular Pride, or was this it? Was it all sort of wrapped up into one big event?
So, to my knowledge, it was all last week and last weekend. There could be things happening this week too. As far as what's on my radar, it was just last week and last weekend.
So you get to be done then for the rest of the month.
Well, done with Pride. There's a lot else going on.
I feel like this is our tax season. We're like you were at Golden Valley last week. I'm going to be at Marquette this weekend. We're obviously 2 days at Twin Cities Pride, which is at the end of the month. Just
and we're going to Iceland in August for Pride.
Oh yeah, and then we're going to Iceland. Pride.
No kidding.
In
Oh,
August.
it's
Yes.
amazing.
We have been talking about doing this for years, and so we're finally going to get to go there. Hopefully, we're going to try to get a press pass to cover some of the events. And Pink Iceland, literally, it was just saying that they just emailed us. They responded to my press request, so we're going to talk to them about the stuff that happens in Iceland. It's I did not realize. I knew they were pro LGBTQ. I did not realize the extent to which the country is pro LGBTQ, and I think this is their biggest festival of all the festivals on the island. This is their biggest. It goes for a week, has a huge parade on Saturday, so we're really looking forward to covering that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yes, but that's us. Here. I saw something that you posted today really quickly. I don't know if you can speak to it, about a judge temporarily blocking executive orders targeting LGBTQ and HIV groups. It was a Lambda Legal filed the suit. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I thought, oh wait, I remember that headline. Is that something you can speak to about that case real quick?
Sure, absolutely. And also, I should probably also plug the story that I'm going to have coming out, fingers crossed, later today, about kind of the broader picture, like litigation wise, like with groups that are fighting against the anti-trans stuff.
Thank you.
That's great.
I'm like, someone needs to put this all together. And Christopher Kane, this is why we talked to you.
Well, thanks. Thank you. And like looking ahead to the Supreme Court cases as well, that were like the June term is going to expire in a couple of weeks here. So we're looking at decisions coming out probably like next week and the week after. So yeah, this was a case where there were 9 plaintiffs that were part of this lawsuit. They were all LGBTQ organizations from California, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New York. There might have been an Australian there too. In any case, these concern the executive orders that were targeting DEI and also the anti-trans executive order, which were, if enforced, would have been kind of an existential threat to the future of these groups and the work that they do. So the Lambda Legal and the other co-counsel secured a preliminary injunction from the U.S. District Judge or a U.S. District Judge from the Northern California District Court. So definitely an important development, but what we're going to be following to see how that litigation ultimately shakes out.
Wonderful. Folks, you can read all of Christopher's reporting at WashingtonBlade.com. Tune in later today to get that, hopefully later today to get that. I'm sure it's going to be an excellent summation of all of the stuff that's going on here. And we need someone like you, Christopher, to do that. Thank you for joining us again on the show. And we'll see you back in a couple weeks.
Oh, thank you. Sounds great.
When you head to WashingtonBlade.com, don't forget to sign up for their weekly e-newsletter. And thank you, everyone, for listening and or watching today. Up next on WCPT 820 is Chew's Views with Richard Chew on AM 950 Radio. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. You can stream our show everywhere you get your podcasts and also watch us at youtube.com/@TheGailey Show. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Please keep it queer.